Hello viewers, welcome to Tech Eye. Today marks our 5th Illustrator class, and we're diving deep into strokes. You'll get a thorough understanding of how strokes work and how to use them effectively. Let's start with what we have in store for today. I've prepared a file in advance where you can see several rectangles. These shapes all share the same path, but their appearance varies due to stroke properties. Firstly, this rectangle has both fill and stroke applied. As you can see, having both gives it this appearance. You can manage both properties by double-clicking here, as I've taught in previous classes. Now, if I want to remove the stroke, simply select it and use the shortcut key for None to remove it. Similarly, if I want to remove the fill, I select it and use the None shortcut key, and it disappears. Moving on to the next rectangle, this one is fill only. It doesn't have any stroke applied, as indicated by this symbol. When you select this shape, you'll notice it doesn't have any fill, which is clearly visible here too. One interesting thing to note is that shapes with fills can be easily selected and dragged to move. For example, this fill-only shape I can move easily like this. However, with this stroke-only shape, if I try to move it like this, it won't budge. Why? Because there's nothing to grab. There's no fill here. To move it, you have to click directly on the stroke and drag it. Moving on. Next, we have stroke alignment. Here, the stroke is aligned to the center. You can see this property up here. If you click on the option named Stroke, a panel will appear. You can find the same panel located here as well, or you can go to Window and click Stroke from here. Let me scroll down a bit. Here it is. As I click, it'll appear from this exact place. You can pull it apart to keep it separate so we can see it more clearly. Let me close it, okay? One thing you'll notice when selecting this is the weight. Currently, it's 8 points in weight. But if you click this flyout button and select Show Options, the exact same panel will be visible to you as the one above. Understand? Now, if you notice here, as I select this, at the bottom, Align Stroke has a button pressed for Align Stroke to Center. Okay? If I select this, then Align Stroke to Inside is applied. And if I select this, here it's Align Stroke to Outside. Interestingly, these three paths appear to have different sizes. This one looks smaller, this one looks larger, and that one looks larger as well. Why? Because their strokes are aligned in different styles, right? So keep in mind that the size of your shape will appear different depending on how your stroke is aligned. These three alignments make a difference. Moving on to the third thing, when to use them. As we progress further, you'll discover more about this. For now, one more interesting thing is when I select and increase its weight, notice how the size increases from both inside and outside. And if I select this and give it the same 18 points in weight, it'll increase from the inside only, as it's aligned from the inside. Okay? Lastly, when I select this and increase the stroke weight to 18 points, it'll appear larger, because it's aligned from the outside. Okay? Alright, now coming below, let's discuss the join or corners and how they'll look. This is the miter join, which is applied by default to your shape. Beside it is the round join. See here, this one. The only difference is that any corners will be rounded. It looks better in many places because of smooth corners. However, in many places, the miter join looks better too. Next, the bevel join. It creates edges that are cut at an angle. Remember, all three examples use the same strokes. The only difference is the type of join selected. When you select them together, none are turned on here because each has a different setting. Moving on to dashed lines, removing the check removes the dashes, and checking it again brings them back. You can adjust the dash and gap lengths using numeric values. Now, onto open paths and their endpoints or caps. The cap refers to how the endpoint of a line appears. The examples show a butt cap, round cap, and projecting cap. The projecting cap extends slightly beyond the endpoint, distinguishing it visually despite having the same size as the others. Now, let's dive into the brush tool and its functionalities. The brush tool allows you to draw thick strokes by simply clicking and dragging. Remember, when using the brush tool, any changes in color are applied to the stroke, not the fill. You can change the stroke color in the color panel. If you open the brushes panel, you'll find various default brushes available. These can be applied to any path you create with tools like the pen tool. Just select a path and click on the desired brush to apply it. Moving on, let's explore the blob brush, which is also found within the brush tool. Unlike the regular brush, the blob brush applies a fill instead of a stroke. You can adjust the brush size using shortcut keys. Press the right square bracket to increase the size. Remember, the blob brush always creates filled shapes, not strokes. Next, let's discuss the pencil tool. Similar to the brush tool, the pencil tool allows you to draw freehand strokes. However, it produces thinner and more uniform lines compared to the brush tool. Unlike the brush tool, the pencil tool does not provide a live preview of the stroke appearance. Within the pencil tool, you'll find additional tools such as the smooth tool and the path eraser tool. The smooth tool helps refine rough lines by making them smoother, which is useful for both pencil-drawn paths and those created with the pen tool. These tools offer flexibility in creating and refining strokes and shapes in Illustrator, paving the way for more detailed and expressive vector graphics. Let's explore the smooth tool first. Hover over the path with the smooth tool, and with each click, it smoothens the path further. This tool is invaluable for refining rough edges and ensuring smooth lines in your designs. Next, we have the path eraser tool, which erases paths specifically, breaking them into separate segments. This is useful for editing paths without affecting other elements in your design. Remember, it only erases paths and does not affect fills or strokes. Moving on to the shaper tool, it's designed for creating shapes quickly and easily. Draw freely, and it automatically converts your strokes into perfect geometric shapes, like triangles, rectangles, or circles. However, it only works with closed paths, so it won't recognize open paths, like lines. Finally, the join tool is handy for connecting paths. It's particularly useful for tasks like tracing or refining paths created with the pen tool. By clicking to join anchor points, you can seamlessly connect paths to create continuous shapes or lines. These tools offer efficient ways to manipulate and refine paths and shapes in Illustrator, streamlining your workflow and enhancing precision in your designs. Look, it forms a complete shape seamlessly. No need for average and join. If you prefer, you can turn them into curves as well. So these are some tools related to stroke, correct? I really want to introduce more tools, especially the eraser, scissors, and knife. Let's explore these too. Just a moment ago, you saw the path eraser tool, right? It erases simple lines like this. Of course, you can use it on closed shapes as well for erasing, but notice what happens. As I erase, it closes the path. For example, like this or this, it erases, but now it separates into parts. However, it always creates closed shapes. Understand? Alternatively, let's create another shape. I'll make a circle. Now, as I was saying, what's the difference between the path eraser and the regular eraser? Take the path eraser tool and erase this part. Notice it stays open, right? Now, if I use the regular eraser and erase, it gives me a closed shape. That's the key difference. Sometimes we just need to erase paths to open up shapes. Okay, so I've explained the difference between the path eraser and the regular eraser. Even though it's for erasing shapes, remember, it always closes the path after erasing. Now, let's move on to the scissors tool. Again, this tool is only for paths. It won't give you a shape by cutting like this. If you click and drag, it shows an error. Please use the scissors tool on a segment or an anchor point, not on an endpoint of a path. It won't work on an endpoint, only from the middle. For example, if I click here, just here, it creates a separate path. Let's move it a bit. There you go. I hope you've got the hang of the scissors too. Lastly, there's the knife tool. The knife tool works similarly to the eraser, which I want to differentiate between these two tools. If I take the knife tool from here, what does it do? It cuts as well. Basically, it's not erasing, just cutting. And it also creates shapes while cutting. So, if I deselect, you'll see this is one shape and this is another. But both are adjacent, right? It's quite an intriguing tool. Often, when we need to remove some shape from anything, for instance, I cut it like this and see, I'm going to give a different fill. And selecting the other one, I'll apply another fill. So this becomes much more interesting. If you wish, cut more sections here. No problem. And one more fascinating thing, even if you don't select, it still cuts. So you can apply a different color to whatever shape you want. All right, dear? And you can also change its stroke to none, so it looks more interesting. So I trust you've understood all these aspects related to paths or strokes. Plus, I've covered the erasers and so on. So, I hope you'll practice and understand it better. I'll bring the next lesson very soon. In the next class, we'll delve into the rotate tool, create more fascinating things with it. Yes, please don't miss it, okay? So if you haven't, my same old speech, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, buddy. Whoever you know, bring them all here. Many people will get the chance to learn. Please convince them to subscribe, tell them to come, watch, and learn. Everything is provided free, buddy. Please come quickly. Thank you.